Let me tell you something about mastery. It's not a moment. It's not a skill. It's not a single success. It's a way of life. And no one understood that better than Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated samurai who fought over 60 duels and never lost. But what makes Musashi truly fascinating isn't just that he was a warrior. It's that he was also an artist, a philosopher, a writer, a sculptor, a calligrapher, a man who could pick up any discipline and within a short time rise to the top. How did he do it? What was his secret? Musashi's entire life was a quest for mastery, not in swords, but in self. He believed that to master anything, you must first master yourself. And that begins with detachment. Detachment from comfort, from ego, from the need to be seen as skilled. Most people chase mastery for recognition. They want to be known as experts. They want validation. But Musashi? He disappeared into solitude. He left the noise of the world, lived in caves, meditated, and trained endlessly, not to impress, but to understand. That's the first secret. You cannot master anything that you approach with vanity. If your goal is to show off, you'll always stop once you're good enough to be admired. But if your goal is to understand, to become, then mastery becomes inevitable. Musashi wrote in the Book of Five Rings, "If you know the way broadly, you will see it in everything." This one line reveals his entire philosophy. When you truly master one thing, anything, you begin to see the same principles in every other area of life. The same mindset that makes you an expert swordsman can make you a master painter, a great entrepreneur, or a skilled athlete. Because the foundation of mastery isn't the tool in your hand. It's the discipline in your mind. Think about that for a moment. Every skill, whether it's coding, writing, business, or combat, follows the same law: consistency, awareness, and adaptability. But the reason most people never reach mastery is because they quit at the first plateau. Musashi never quit. He fought his first duel at age 13, a kid with a wooden sword against a grown man with steel. He won. But instead of celebrating, he kept going. He kept fighting, losing, learning, and returning stronger. Each battle wasn't a competition, it was a study. That's another secret of Musashi. He approached every challenge as a lesson, not a judgment. We live in a world obsessed with results. Everyone wants to be the best in 6 months. Everyone wants quick mastery, shortcuts, hacks. But Musashi didn't rush the process. He believed in what he called constant polishing, a lifelong process of refinement. He said, "You must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain." In other words, mastery isn't about doing things one way. It's about adapting your spirit to any way. This is why Musashi could master painting after mastering the sword, because he didn't fall in love with the weapon. He fell in love with discipline itself. And that's where most people fail. They fall in love with the activity, not the process. They want to feel good while learning, not uncomfortable. But Musashi thrived in discomfort. He believed that when you practice only what's easy, you stagnate. So he deliberately sought challenge. He switched weapons, changed fighting styles, lived in isolation, and even drew his own limitations just to break them. He said, "You can only fight the way you practice." That means every small, lazy decision you make in training shows up in your performance. If you cut corners when no one's watching, you're not just skipping a step, you're teaching your mind to settle for less. Mastery demands that you hold yourself accountable even when the world isn't looking. Let's pause there, because this is where most people fall off. They want to master something, but they only work when they feel motivated. They read a few books, watch tutorials, practice for a week, and then expect results. Musashi's life shows us the opposite. Practice until you no longer need motivation. Discipline becomes your natural state when you stop negotiating with yourself. In one of his writings, Musashi said, "Today is victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is victory over lesser men." That means every single day, your only opponent is who you were before. If you're better than that person, even by 1%, you're on the path to mastery. That's it. Simple, but brutally difficult. Musashi wasn't born special. He was born rough, unrefined, violent even. But through relentless self-discipline, he forged himself. And that's the word, forged. Mastery is not found, it's forged. Like a sword heated and hammered repeatedly until all impurities are burned out. The same happens with you. Every failure, every setback, every doubt. That's the heat shaping your blade. Most people quit because they can't handle the fire. Musashi walked into it willingly. He didn't fear failure. He feared comfort. He knew comfort was the silent killer of growth. That's why he lived a minimalist life. No luxury, no fame chasing, no desire for applause. He wore simple clothes, ate little, slept on the floor. Not because he wanted to suffer, but because he wanted to stay sharp. He said, "Do nothing which is of no use." This is the purest rule for mastery. Every action, every word, every thought must contribute to your path. If it doesn't, it weakens you. So ask yourself, how many things in your life are of no use? How many hours do you waste scrolling, comparing, worrying? Musashi would call that spiritual weakness, the inability to stay focused on your way. He believed that every person must find their own way, their due, whether it's the way of art, the way of writing, the way of strategy. Once you find it, you must walk it with total devotion. In that path, mastery is not a goal. It's a rhythm. You fall, you rise, you repeat. You learn through experience, not through constant switching. Musashi stayed loyal to his path, even when it looked meaningless. He once fought a duel against an opponent who had spent years training with precision and grace. Musashi showed up late, with a wooden sword he carved from a boat and defeated him in one strike. That wasn't luck. That was instinct sharpened through thousands of hours of self-awareness. He wasn't reacting, he was flowing. And that's the ultimate stage of mastery, flow. When you've practiced so deeply that thinking disappears and doing takes over. You don't calculate. You don't doubt. You just move like water. That's what Musashi meant when he spoke of the way of water in his philosophy, adaptability. He said, "Water adopts the shape of its container." Meaning, to master anything, you must become like water, formless, flexible, and capable of flowing around obstacles instead of fighting them. Most people resist. They fight reality. They get frustrated when things don't go their way. Musashi taught the opposite. Don't fight reality, flow with it. That mindset makes you unstoppable. Because when you stop expecting things to be easy, everything becomes an opportunity to grow. That's how Musashi approached his life, not as a fighter, but as a learner. He once said, "In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distanced view of close things." That's deep. It means you must zoom in and zoom out. When you're learning something new, be deeply present. Focus on the smallest details. But also, never lose sight of the big picture, your purpose. Most people get lost in details and forget why they started. Musashi always remembered why. His path was to master himself. Everything else was a reflection of that. You see, the reason Musashi could learn new skills so easily, painting, sculpting, writing, is because he understood principles over techniques. Once you understand the principles, discipline, awareness, focus, the techniques become secondary. Techniques are just expressions of the same universal truths. So when you try to master something, don't memorize steps, understand patterns. Ask, what is this skill trying to teach me about myself? That's how you grow beyond the surface. Even in the modern world, Musashi's mindset applies perfectly. Want to master a business? Learn how to stay calm under pressure. Want to master music? Learn how to embrace repetition without boredom. Want to master social skills? Learn how to observe more and speak less. Everything comes down to the same principle. Mastery begins where ego ends. Musashi lived and died by that truth. He didn't seek fame, yet his name became immortal. He didn't chase mastery, he embodied it. He wrote in his final days, "The ultimate aim of martial arts is not having to use them." That means the highest level of mastery is peace. When you've truly mastered something, you don't need to prove it. You simply are it. So, what can we learn from him today? Stop chasing perfection. Chase discipline. Stop looking for motivation. Build consistency. Stop comparing. Focus on your way. And above all, detach from the outcome. Because mastery isn't about what you get. It's about what you become. When you live like Musashi, minimal, intentional, patient, unshakable, you realize something profound. You don't need to master many things. You just need to master yourself, and every skill will unfold naturally. That's Miyamoto Musashi's secret,